All right, welcome back, True Seeker. It is April 20th, 2021, and this is going to be a rather long stream because if you've noticed, the last few days of news headlines have just been packed with stories from deaths, famous deaths, vice presidents, big sports stars, children. It's just been packed. A lot of shootings. We did get some gun control legislation out of Colorado on April 19th, the day we said to look out for gun control legislation. Of course, they talked about the King Super shooting. If you forget why we said April 19th, it's because it's the day leaving 256 days left in the year. And in Gematria, when you write out Second Amendment, it's 256. When you write out assault weapons ban, it's also 256, which is interesting because September 13th, 94 was the last assault weapons ban. That's the 256th day of the year. April 19th is the reflection date. It's the day leaving 256 days left in the year. Last year in 2020 on that date, there was the mass shooting in Canada that got, gun rights taken away for Canadian citizens on the day leaving 256. We've been talking a lot about that number recently. And, Colorado, today's the anniversary of the Columbine shooting. Recently, there was a grocery store shooting in Colorado, and also in the news today, there's a grocery store shooting in New York. And the George Floyd verdict, guilty on all three counts for Derek Chauvin. We'll get to that one exactly 330 days after the supposed killing. We'll talk about a lot of stories. This stream's probably going to be longer than I even imagine it will be because there's just I want you to see how many things I've covered just since getting back from Spokane on Saturday. It seems like I've just haven't been able to get away just trying to keep up with the stories, man. It's just, or I should say, it seems like I haven't been able to get away from the computer trying to keep up with all the stories in the news, and I think I've still probably missed some, but before I could just get into everything, and here's what's going to be different about this stream. Normally, I set up my posts like in a logical order, like we'll talk about these topics because they're related, then we'll talk about this. I'm just going to go through it in the order I've posted on the website, which is essentially the order in with which I've been trying to keep up with information. But notice, Gematria affects sports. These are the channels of mine that still exist. Again, I've lost 2 more channels in the last 2 weeks, including the biggest channel I had. But Gematria Effects Sports still stands. The newer channel, Zachary on the Corner, suspended. It recently had 3 videos removed. They took away 3 videos, but they only assigned 1 strike. Back in the day, they would have deleted your whole channel if they took down 3 videos. But the new YouTube, they still give out a lot of strikes and delete your channel almost as frequently. It's just they have these new rules that make them seem more fair. So if they give you a strike and then they delete 2 more videos on the same day, it only counts as 1 strike instead of 3 separate strikes. But so anyway, this channel stands. It's suspended right now, but there's some interesting videos still up. And like all my channels, they're up while they're up until YouTube decides to take them down. And that channel's Zachary on the Corner. And Voices of Humanity suspended with 2 strikes, so it's on the verge of being deleted. And if it gets deleted, I'll recreate this channel, and I'll try to do what it was intended to do. Again, when I started this channel, the point was to talk about things without Gematria. But because since I've started it, like all of my channels, I've been juggling between which channels suspended, both channels suspended. I pretty much just ended up using this as a backup channel until it got strikes for doing what I was doing, and now it's on the ropes. And again, I wish I could just show or I wish YouTube, actually what I should say is when YouTube assigns all these strikes and accuses you of all these things, I wish they would specifically say what you said that violated their terms of service. Like I literally lost a video and the channel might have went down with it too, but the thing was they struck a video where I taught about 19-year cycles and the significance of the moon every 19 years and the gematria chaos and the motto order out of chaos and why Joe Biden did 1.9 trillion like 19 on his 78th day of being 78 years old when order out of chaos is 78 and chaos is 19. and they took down that video that was like a minute and a half long. Well, they took it down for medical misinformation, but it's like, how can that video be medical misinformation when I'm teaching about 19-year cycles of the moon and gematria and why we see the pattern of drug war, 1982, then 19 years later, war on terror, then 19 years later, war on germs, and the war on germs is COVID-19, and the war on terror was the 19 hijackers on 9/11. And again, the war on drugs, the war on terror, the war on germs, they're all wars on personal freedom and have cost taxpayers a lot of money and cost people a lot of lives, and from all angles. I mean, if you look at police and military as essentially the soldier class of the government carrying out the enforcement of their policies, and you look at the soldiers and people and citizens and ones who get labeled terrorists and drug criminals, all of them that either end up dead or in cages because of the policies. I mean, these are all, in a way, casualties. The police officer, I remember how they'd always report in the news when I was growing up that police officers had the highest abuse rates. That was actually something they'd bring up in the news. I realize now, I mean, God, I'm not the biggest fan of police, but I realize how in the press, police always, well, not always, but a lot of times they get like some bad press or just stats that are thrown out there, like how police officers are the most likely to beat and kill their spouses. That was a stat that they used to always throw out there in the news when I was growing up. My mom would always point it out too. She'd always say, see? But I had a weird, I ended up growing up next to a police officer whose last name was COPP. And he's part of a family that owns like a car dealership in the Portland area. But that guy once picked me up by my neck and like choked me out as a child because his son, who was a year younger than me, I threw him the football and it hit him in the face. And he told his dad I hit him in the face. And as I was trying to explain to his dad, I was already getting choked out. I was like, man, I threw him the football and hit him in the face. Not like I punched him in the face. I mean, I can't believe he's telling on me for that. And guess what? I didn't play with that kid anymore after that either. I was like, okay. And my dad didn't do shit either because he's a police officer. My dad didn't really have any type of a position of authority. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to mess with the police. But COPP, that really was his name. And this is the other website I have, Signs Matter. Conversation with Chris. And I think everybody should really watch this video again. If you haven't heard me say this before and you haven't watched this video, take the time to watch this video and listen to what he gets into. And it's not like, man, it better be hitting in the first 30 seconds or I'm out. No, you got to listen to what he says over the course of an hour. All that he shares about his life and why he is where he is and why he's an addict and why he doesn't have that much inspiration to get out of his addiction and why he just wants God to come take him. I mean, he lays it all out. And, I encourage him to be positive and just said, the world just needs to... He explained when he was on his good path and it wasn't like this and why that opportunity left and how he hasn't been able to get back on it. But that doesn't mean it won't come back. And he's only in his 30s, so it's just like... I think that's what you have to remember, like when you're suicidal and life is rough and it seems like there's no hope. It might seem that way, and man, it could end up being that... Again, there's no guarantee about what's going to happen in life, but there are points where, like, if you persist and you struggle through something, you do come out the other side, and then things do get better, and then you realize it's like, wow, I'm actually glad I went through that because that made me a really rock-solid person. And this guy is a great person, but if you listen, in a way, he kind of expresses what's wrong with the world right now through his own story. His story is probably understood by millions, if not billions of people on the earth right now. And if you watch both videos that are on here, you notice the topic of Percocet 30s come up, and that's what's plaguing the homeless population here. Everyone's addicted to Percocet 30s. He says when you come off it, man, your body needs it because you feel terrible without it. So that's addiction. And then, of course, if you're here right now, we should be on GematriaEffectNews 22. And let me check to make sure that is the case. Yes, it looks like we are. Okay, so again, it is the April 20th episode, and what this is Gematria Effect News 22, because 21 channels have been eliminated for sharing information like this. So, if you go to my website, GematriaEffect.news, I post here. My ebooks are here. There's a calculator here. If you think this is interesting, here's what I encourage you to do. Go to this website, GematriaEffect.news. After you watch this video, if you think this is interesting, download one of these apps. There's no tracking or anything like that. They're totally free. And what they are is gematria calculators, so you can calculate things and do research, but you don't need an internet connection. If you're always on the internet or on your computer, you won't really need the app. But if you are someone who's on your smartphone a lot and you're using up data or you need a Wi-Fi connection, you won't need the app. You can just do it anywhere because it does not require an internet connection. But anyway, gematria is the very simple practice of coding numbers into words. And the two original ciphers I learned were the alphabetic order, where A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, E is 5, F is 6, G is 7, up to Z, the 26 letters, 26. You're just turning the letters into numbers using the alphabetic order. And as you might know, today is Adolf Hitler's birthday. His birthday is April 20th, 1889. So a lot of people associate today with Hitler. When the Columbine shooting happened on this day, that was brought up a lot in the news, that it was on Hitler's birthday. And who's the new Hitler right now in the moment? Derek Chauvin, guilty today. And again, I just want to make a point. And for anyone who's familiar with my work, you know what I'm for. I'm all for unity and exposing how the media and government are working to divide us and tear us apart. But again, just from earlier this year, this happened to me, January 6, 2021. I went down to Powell's Books, where Antifa was protesting because they didn't want the Andy No book to come out. And I educate him about this knowledge I'm about to teach you. And, it seemed like some kind of were listening, even though they got that real rebellious spirit in Antifa. But some are definitely just like operatives. And all they scream back at you is just nonsensical statements that have nothing to do with what you're talking about. And big accusations. So I was educating them about how in Gematria, Antifa's 111, and on January 11th, 111, they were one of the top stories for protesting the Andy No book, and how that day it shot up to a bestseller on Amazon. And so I was telling them that, first of all, if you guys consider yourselves anti-fascist, what is anti-fascist about advocating for censorship and getting rid of books? Because that's what fascist regimes have done in the past. And that's even going on right now because our government is fascist, which you're protesting against. And some of them sort of got that, but then they're, again, so like you can see that some younger people will be like, yeah, you might have a point there, but still this book sucks or whatever. And it's like, okay, that response from an Antifa person is good because that means they heard what you said. So if you're ever around Antifa, I don't encourage you to be around Antifa, first of all, because I ended up getting bear sprayed in the face. But before that happened, again, you could tell which ones with the snarky responses were listening and thinking about things, but then just coming back with their, well, whatever, I'm going to do this protest thing. But then other ones there in the group are just chanting at you these phrases like white racist, white Nazi. They're just saying that at you, and you're like, wait a minute, man. I'm not saying anything about race. I'm talking about how the news is working by this knowledge and how you guys are becoming part of this ritual right here, right now, that's shooting this book that you supposedly hate up to number one. What you're doing is making it more known. And so anyway, if you guys do not know what happened while I was at the Portland Pals on January 16th of this year, I was there for probably close to 30 minutes. And I planned to be there for, several hours. I'd gotten there. There were several people who beat me to the corner because I said I was going to be there that day, and they just wanted to get their book signed or get a book from me or talk to me. And the Antifa crowd didn't like that either. But we were all able to get along for a while. And but then what happened is when one gentleman who happened to be rather tall, his name was Justin, he was the tallest person that came to meet me. When he came and he was talking to me and his wife was right next to him, the crowd started shouting that he called somebody the N-word, which was not true. But the whole Antifa crowd started shouting that. And just moments before that, there were 2 Black Lives Matter protesters with Antifa, but a third showed up, and the third who showed up was the biggest guy. He was probably like, I don't know, somewhere between 6'2" and 6'4", and I would say at least 260, built like a tree, not fat, like strong and thick. And I had to jump out in front of that dude. I had to jump out in front of that guy and say, whoa, 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 whoa. And I was like, he did not say that. They're falsely accusing him. What he did say is that he came here to share love and knowledge. And that's how he actually responded, because what was going on before any of this broke out, for anyone who's seen the video clip, this other stuff's not captured, but there was a man in a wheelchair, and he had disinfectant spray, and he was spraying it towards me, and, calling us white Nazis at the same time. And it's just like, dude, I mean, like, no one did anything racist. One of the people in the group who was there was black. A woman came a little bit later who was black, so we weren't even an all-white group. There were people of other races there, Asian. It was if you looked at the group of people, it was very diverse who came to meet me. It didn't look like, it's just, but anyway, they still just started chanting this. Well, the big dude who just gotten there, who was ready to go right after the tall guy who came to meet me, Justin, is now being targeted by the big strong dude, who the whole group is now pointing at Justin, saying he said something that he didn't say. And see, I felt responsible in the moment, because I'm like, oh my God, this guy just showed up here with his wife, and he had both my books printed. This guy, Justin, had this book printed. He did the Hulu thing, but he got the cover on it. Again, this is how big my first book is. This is my first book without a cover. But he did it with the cover. He had that printed and my latest book, and he just wanted to get a signature, and he was real friendly, and just like, the crowd did say something to him at first, and the way he was trying, he's like, oh man, I just came here to share knowledge and love, not even being hostile or anything. Then they all start chanting this. And right when this third member showed up, who was huge and ready to fight, I just jumped out in front of him right away. I said, whoa, man. I said, he did not say that. He said he came to share knowledge and love. And I said, I just met him. I said, no one's trying to start a fight here. Well, he looked at me, the big guy, and he said, get out of the way, I'm going to punch you in the face. Well, not only was he there, but the other guy was there. Like I said, there were 2 other Black Lives Matter protesters there before. One was a young woman who was she was mad at me for not wearing a mask, but then what was funny is she literally went across the street, got a donut from the Louisiana donut shop right across from Pal's, and then she came back in the middle of the crowd and took her mask down and put it on her chin and ate her donut after she was so worried about me not wearing a mask. And same with Antifa, man. They're tripping about the mask too. Antifa's the most Orwellian thing there ever was, but anyway, there was her, the young girl, and then there was another young black man, and he had a sense of humor, and he was actually making fun of my jeans. The jeans I were wearing that day, they are my worst pair of jeans. They're like a little bit too short. He was making fun of my high water jeans. I was like, man, I haven't heard anything like that since middle school. But he had a sense of humor, and he was listening a bit too. But when the other dude came, then he was like standing next to him. And this guy's big as well. The other guy wasn't as big as the guy who just showed up, but he was probably at least 6'2" and probably, I don't know, 220. He just wasn't as like thick and big as the other guy. But 2 big guys. And the one dude looked at me and said, get out of the way, I'm going to punch you. I said, man, I can't let you attack a guy who didn't say that. So anyway, he didn't punch me, but they just shoved their way through. And then I was trying to calm him down and hold him back. I don't know if you've ever seen the video, but that Andy No, the author, whose book was Rising to bestseller, he had a camera crew right there to capture the whole thing, and he had the whole thing, well, not the whole thing, but he had the end of the thing where it gets like physically violent, all documented and uploaded to his website, and he said it was people fighting over getting a copy of his book, which was false. I was just giving out copies of my book and teaching Antifa about the knowledge and how they were helping Andy No sell books. I guess in that sense, I guess it had something to do with his book, but we weren't really fighting over his book. That's not what the fight was over, as he titled his video. But if you don't know who Andy No is, he's someone who's been on Joe Rogan's show. He's someone who's been on every mainstream media cable channel there is. And he's someone who claims to be from Portland, Oregon, but has a British accent. By the way, yours is truly is from Portland, Oregon. And I don't think any of you guys have ever confused the way I talk for a British accent. But coming back to Gematria, today's April 20th. Hitler's birthday, the 110th day of the year. When I first started to look at Gematria, all I knew was the alphabetic order. Just A is 1 up to Z is 26. And you can see Adolf Hitler equals 110 with that cipher, the alphabetic order. And when you write out president, it's also 110. Adolf Hitler, the president of Germany, born on the 110th day of the year. Now, when I first began, I knew one other cipher. And that was the alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. So you're still using the alphabetic order, but the one thing you're using different is numerology. Adolf Hitler, when you do it that way, is 56. And in history, Adolf Hitler supposedly committed suicide at age 56, but his body was never discovered. That was one of the stories that they used to always teach us in school. That, it's just like, okay, how can you know a man committed suicide if you never found his body? And he's the guy that the war's blamed on, and he kind of like escaped, but they say he died? Isn't that like what the authorities would want to report, that he died? Even if they don't have the proof, because then it seems like there's some closure. Anyway, if you've been following my work for for all of the pandemic, you know how important 56 is and who it represents. It is very well covered in my latest book. But anyway, Gematria is the simple practice of coding numbers into words. And when you learn it, you see history with a new lens. You see what's coming through the news with a new lens. You see sports with a new lens. You see the world of entertainment definitely with a new lens. And to me, the lens makes things a lot more clear, and the pieces really start to add up. So anyway, here, I'll show you one other thing just to make a point. Google today, they're paying tribute to Luther Vandross, the musician. We covered Luther Vandross's death years ago, but I just want you to see. He was born today, April 20th. That's why they're covering him today, because it's his birthday, but he died 7-1 from a heart attack, July 1st, 2001. If you write out Luther Vandross Jr., which is his name, you see how it's 71 with the alphabetic order and rules of numerology? There's a lot more to it with his death. He died on his 73rd day of his age. Remember, sacrifice is 73 with the alphabetic order. And if you write out ritual sacrifice, it's also 73, just when you use the alphabetic order and rules of numerology. So, by the way, Derek's calculator for decoding words is probably easier because it's color-coded, and with the base ciphers, that can be very helpful for people. Derek's website's gematria.com, but sometimes I think he's gotten his hosting better because it doesn't seem to go down nearly as much. But if his website ever is down, just remember there's another calculator at GematriaEffect.news, and that's also where you can download the free offline calculator for all phone platforms pretty much. So anyway. Again, my website is where I just keep up with the headlines, and I'm sure there's many stories I've missed in the last few days, but just trying to keep up with all that's been in the news is just like, wow, there is so much right now. So Chad's president was reportedly killed today. Again, we were talking about how the word president's 110, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, up to Z is 26, just adding up the letters of president, 110. And here on the 110th day of the year this year, the anniversary of Hitler's birthday, we get this story of a president being killed. And by the way, Chad has gematria of 20. It's when you run the alphabetic order in reverse with the rules of numerology. Again, our base ciphers, alphabetic order forwards, backwards, and then forwards and backwards with the rules of numerology. But the first two are the ones we've always known from the beginning in 2013. We added on the reverse about 3 years into the research because we realized it was the other half of the code. I wouldn't have seen the Chad 20 thing in 2013. I would have seen the president thing for sure, but the Chad thing I would have been oblivious to because that wasn't until the end of 2016. And what I also would have caught right away is that he died 59 days before his birthday. His birthday was June 18th, dead April 20th. Again, 59. My first book, Letters and Numbers, the big one that I was just holding up. The 18th chapter of that book is the rituals done with the numbers 42 and 59, and oftentimes in suspicious deaths in black history as well. The word kill in Jewish gematria is 59. Words like Negro, slave, blues, Rasta, they're all 59. So, again, the same old thing. But, yeah, so that's a story, and we'll just keep scrolling down here. So I just journaled this. I wanted to make sure I documented this. If you were here back in 2017, we were onto this pattern already with Steph Curry and Pi and his Pi Day birthday and the rituals they do with the Warriors in Philadelphia, because the Warriors are originally from Philadelphia, just like what else is also originally from Philadelphia is the Athletics. Both those cities in Oakland now. And there's one more sports connection, but it's escaping me. But anyway, they always do these rituals with Steph Curry, who's born March 14th, Pi Day, and the 76ers when they play him in Pi. And notice the Warriors became 29-29 by beating the 76ers on the 109th day of the year, April 19th. 109 is the 29th prime. Now, notice, in Gematria, Pi is 29. What I predicted in 2017 for the game on Pi Day between Curry and Philly, already having seen a bunch of Pi rituals done with Curry and especially Philadelphia, what I predicted for that game is that Curry would score 29 points on his 29th birthday, and that's exactly what he did. Here's the... Here, just to go back in time, March 14th, 17, this was Steph Curry's 29th birthday. He was born March 14th, 1988, which was the day that it was actually named Pi Day in 88. But Curry that game had 29 points on his 29th birthday. And this year he turned 33. But look at this, you guys. 29-29, right? And then his stats after that game, that was his 50th game of the season that he played in. After that, he's at 31.4 points per game for the season after scoring 49 as they become 29-29. Again, Pi is 3.14. 314, the magic digits, just like why March 14th is Pi Day, 314. And after his 50th game, again, the word circle equals 50. In his 50th game, he averages that after scoring 49 and bringing his team to 29-29, just like how he scored 29 points on his Pi Day 29th birthday once upon a time in a game with Philly. And again, I'm not even doing it justice, you guys, because there's so many Pi rituals that we've covered over the years with Steph Curry, and especially when he faces Philadelphia. It's just a joke, man. And that's why I know a lot of you guys... I've just been trying to do so much. I'm going to do, because of the channel they took down, it knocked out some of my content from my Patreon page, because it was on one of the channels they just wiped out. But I will go back and do another video teaching you again how to decode sports. But again, really, it's using the knowledge and working with it day after day, because the people who've been doing that, who've been following me and also applying what they learned to what they see in the games, they've now learned this skill, and now there's a lot of independent people using this knowledge every day in all sorts of ways. Some of those ways are making extra grocery money, and there's quite a few people doing that now. And they know these things. They're like, you see how they did the 29 this year with it? It's just, because these people have been doing this for years now, like I have. So anyway, by the way, he scored 49 points. Warriors is 49. So is Revelation in the most pure cipher, and Philly gets its name from Revelation. And he's 33 right now, the magic number. You remember... Here, I'll show you something. So, something I actually knew before reverse gematria. Again, I learned these two ciphers first when I learned gematria, and then I learned Jewish gematria. But something else I also learned was Sumerian gematria. Remember, Kobe Bryant is 678 in Sumerian and 113. Michael Jordan, anything that's 113 with simple English will be 678. But remember, from Jordan's last game ever played, which was against Philadelphia, Kobe's hometown, just like LeBron passed Kobe in points scored in Philly the day before Kobe died. But from Jordan's last game to Kobe's last game is exactly 678 weeks later. 678 weeks. Michael Jordan, 678. Kobe Bryant, 678. 678. By the way, Utah Jazz are the only team in the league that equals 678. Kobe played his last game against Utah. Jordan beat Utah in the finals. Kobe's retirement poem was Dear Basketball, 678. But exactly, not like 678 weeks in a day or 2 days, but 678 weeks later, Kobe retires after Jordan. And again, just to bring it back to Philadelphia. And Philadelphia has a biblical name. Philadelphia gets its name in Revelation. Again, Revelation has got that 49. The Bible's a book of Numbers. The fourth book is called Numbers. Again, it's these secret mathematics, this old world knowledge. But yeah, you got to ask yourself, what are the odds? What are the odds? I mean, if I just come back out of a time warp machine and like I'd not done a video about Steph Curry and the latest pie ritual since 2017 and just came right back to this day, it'd be like, what else has changed? And again, the point is nothing's changed. They've been doing the same thing day after day, every single day. We've been documenting most of it. And honestly, man, I've just gotten tired of documenting a lot of things, and I just can't even stand to even watch the sports highlights anymore and just get the latest. It's like, God, I'm just so sick of all of this and the fact that people are still falling for this. Like, oh my God, man, what else can we do? But it's just, it is amazing how they do it. And people can't get their minds around things that, again, people say, well, how do they keep doing it to the point? And I keep saying, technology, isn't it obvious? How? Show me how that technology works. I can't show you how it works. I don't know. Just the same reason I have a smartphone. I know it works. I can't explain how it works. I could never show you how this works. But I know it works. It's just obvious. By the way, just Golden State in 106 in that game. This is from years ago, 106. If you go back and look, their arena was 106 feet tall. And not arbitrarily. It was in Oakland, California. And we didn't catch this at first. But you see how Oakland, California is 106? Again, I already knew there was something up with their arena in 106 and prophecy and revelation because the word prophecy is 106. But then when we learned the reverse, I saw how Oakland, California was 106, and I was like, man, you got to be kidding me, man. I can't believe I was mad at myself that it took 3 years to realize that the reverse was so important because it seemed so obvious right away. But now haters come by and they're like, oh, it's because of all these ciphers. No, you guys don't have a clue. Wrong. But yeah, just same old stuff. This is in the news today. They now put out the suspect. Again, there's a shooting today at a grocery store, a stop and go, which equals 38, like Colorado. Like Colorado's the 38th state, and this is the anniversary of the Colorado Columbine shooting. But they put out the face of the shooter, Gabriel Wilson. They show you that he's a black mass shooter, which is pretty rare. You don't see many black mass shooters. But what stood out to me is today's date numerology 65, and you see how Gabriel Wilson's 65 in that most pure cipher, the alphabetic order of the rules numerology. That same cipher, George Floyd is 65, and today's a big win for George Floyd, right? Because Derek Chauvin's guilty on all 3 counts. So... And we should be, I guess, today, realizing the kind of world we live in, I guess we should be fortunate that that is the ruling, because we know what they would have done had it been guilty. Then they would have bust out their made-for protesters and, started even bigger fires than they did last time, which has a real impact on real lives. Their contrived stories and their cooked-up narratives and their planned rituals that they have for us, they create real suffering in real communities. Because that's what they're trying to do, instigate us. Trying to set us on fire. But I'm just thinking, what are the odds? His name's 65, George Floyd's 65, these stories on the same day, big narratives, racism, police shootings. And it's New York as well. Remember what happened last year on Memorial Day. You didn't hear anything about George Floyd on Memorial Day. That story did not make the news Memorial Day. But all day on Memorial Day last year, what you heard about was Amy Cooper, who choked her dog on camera while calling the police on a black man who was birdwatching. So choking a dog in Central Park. The next day, it's the Park Police in Minneapolis choking a man named Floyd. And the word dog and Floyd have the gematria 26, like riot. It was on May 26th, the day after Memorial Day, that the Floyd story came out. Happened in the time of Gemini, the twins in the Twin Cities, with the related story the day before in New York. Again, New York and Minneapolis have the connection through the number 93. Minneapolis is on the 93rd meridian. Minneapolis, Minnesota's 93. Yesterday, Walter Mondale, dead at 93 from Minneapolis. Always that number with Minneapolis. Jalen Suggs, their big basketball star right now, who just lost with Gonzaga in the championship, going to the league. You know, Jalen 93 scored the 93rd points on the 93rd day of the year with the long shot to send them to the championship where they lost to Baylor. But we're always talking about these numbers too. And they also put out a full name for him, Gabriel DeWitt Wilson, which is 92. That's the year of the Rodney King beating acquittal. And a lot of the articles today were saying, are we going to have is history going to repeat itself of the Rodney King riots if Chauvin's acquitted? Well, that didn't happen. But again, you guys, these are all rituals, and they're all in tribute to each other. And no doubt, as time goes on, if society does not wake up to the game and the direction we're being taken, what a lot of people thought could have happened today, that will happen. You know, it's not one of those if but wins. If the cabal remains in power, they will bring total chaos here. It's like they're building us towards that stage. They're normalizing this. It's, you know, they're like moving the yard post. We're living in a countdown, truly. You know, these people have etched in stone in Georgia. Remember last year it went from Georgia to George Floyd to Georgia, Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, to George Floyd in Minneapolis, back to Rashard Brooks in Georgia, George Washington, history, you know, history repeating, wars, revolutionary wars, civil wars, all this focus on Chicago, the land of Lincoln right now. After George Floyd, the Civil War statues came down. But, yeah, just all this stuff in the news at the same time. So, okay. And then Jared Polis in the news today on the anniversary of Columbine. But if you read the story, what he's in the news for, he signed them yesterday, April 19th. And, of course, I've been saying over and over, watch April 19th for gun control headlines. Now, if you notice, the gun control measures, they're annoying but not real serious. But again, the point is how they do this stuff so ritualistically. The reason we were watching April 19th is, again, because it's the mere date of September 13th. April 19th leaves 256 days left in the year. September 13th is the 256th day of the year. And in 94, that was the day of the assault weapons ban, which is an infringement on the Second Amendment. Second Amendment is 256. Assault weapons ban happens to equal 256. In a number of recent mass shootings, we've been talking about how they happened at a location that equals 256. And last year in Canada, April 19th, the mass shooting in the Mountie car, blamed on the guy who stole the car and the outfit, that got gun rights taken away in Canada, that was April 19th. Okay, so if you read about the bill being signed on April 19th, that was, they say it was mostly, you know, spurred on by the latest mass shooting in Colorado at the King Soopers on March 22nd. That was 28 days before this bill was signed into law. I just find that interesting because it was signed into law on a 28-date numerology, and shooting in the most simple cipher is 107, the 28th prime. And again, when you do this study, you see how these rituals come together so perfectly. And it was also on a date with 44 numerology as well, which connects to shooting. And then it was on the 109th day of the year, and the current governor is Jared Polis, 109. He's the first openly homosexual governor. It's interesting that Colorado has gematria of 133 and 43, like homosexuals 133 and 43, and he's the first openly homosexual. But also, this legislation on the 109th day of the year, shootings also got that 109 connection. And yeah, I can't say too much about the March 22nd King Super shooting because, I mean, just for pointing out the things that I have, I've lost 4 videos on the subject, and it reminds me that was the topic that always got channels taken down, was covering curious things about the reported shootings that are given to us in an emotionally charged way, where our expectation or our expected response is something like, oh yeah, definitely take away my rights and liberties. I am so moved by your news story on this. What other way could I possibly want it? You know, and if that isn't your response, then they treat you like there's something wrong. But I noticed that both of these bills, check this out, both of them were introduced on February 16th. He signed 2 bills into law. He signed into law Senate Bill 78, Jesuit 78, Order Out of Chaos 78. I was talking about that earlier with Biden. And then House Bill 1106. And this one could be this one right here could be what's coming for the nation, because the word country is 116. And again, it's just fines and fees if you're not in compliance with the new laws. So it could be a lot worse, but at the same time, it's just, it's just government and nickel and diming you, and this is what taxpayer dollars at work looks like. And again, I guess at the same time, our government constantly needs us to think that they're doing something for us. Look, man, this happened. Here's the response. Now we're going to make sure that you keep your gun real safe so your kid doesn't pick it up and shoot somebody. It's like, okay, did we need all the other theatrics? But look at this. Both bills were introduced February 16th and they were signed into law April 19th. That's 62 days later. And Jared Polis, again with the base ciphers. This is, again, how we realize that there's no way that reverse is an accident. Again, on the 109th day of the year, 62 days after both the laws are brought, introduced, they become law. You pay attention state to state. This is going on all over. It's nothing unique or ordinary, but it just shows you this is the system, and it shows you that Jared Polis is essentially a chosen pawn on the chessboard. See, we're not on the chessboard, you guys. We're the arena watching the chessboard, which is what's on TV. And, part of the chessboard is politics and other sports, news stories, entertainment, what you learned in school. There's these things that make up the chessboard that are like our lives that we're watching. But, Jared Polis is a pawn on the chessboard. We're a spectator watching the game. And I guess getting used and abused by the game. So, okay. But yeah, just what another... Again, what another predictable thing. And like we said, watch out for April 19th and some sort of gun control legislation comes out of Colorado. And notice how they saved the news for the anniversary of Columbine. It's the 22-year anniversary in numerology. Columbine happened in 99, April 20th. I was still in high school. I was in Washington State. We had a new policy after the shooting. We had to wear name tags everywhere. And I refused to wear my name tag because all the school security knew my name, and I mean, most of us knew each other, so it's like, come on, a guy comes there in a name tag, what, that's going to keep us from getting shot? Give me a break. Okay. So they decided they're not ready to burn down the country yet, so if you watch this today, the judge gets up there at about 4:05, right? And just so you know, today had 45 date numerology and verdicts 45, but the judge gets up there at 4:05. He's opening up what the jury's written, and he's going over at 4:05. About 4:06, he starts to read it, And as he's going through each of the 3 charges, guilty, guilty, guilty. He's taking his time. And like right as he's getting through, I think it was probably right about where as getting through the 3rd one of being guilty, the time ticks over from 4:06 to 4:07, and boom, just like as soon as it becomes 4:07, CNN's got up Derek Chauvin guilty on all 3 charges, right? With 47, we're always teaching about the courtroom in 47. Again, that's why Donald Trump put in his first Supreme Court justice on April 7th, 4/7, the 97th day of the year. That all that stuff's in my first book that I wrote. I was finishing up my first book as Trump was in his first year of his presidency. And again, it's just clockwork, man, and it is. And remember, the word, look at it. 47 is the number of authority. Government, authority, policeman, cop. You want to add to that list? White House, president, Republican, Democrat, D.C. They're all 47. The word time is 47. And remember, the tropics of this earth are separated by 47 degrees. 23.5 degrees north and 23.5 degrees south. So, but right at 4:07, CNN just boom with the stat. And it's just like, look at how they do it, man. The cop, the policeman, guilty, right? And by the way, April 7th, or here, let me show you something actually. You see how gavel and judge, or what did I just do? Oh, I didn't type in the word gavel. Okay, is that coming through? Let me check. Okay, you see how judge and gavel are the exact same in all 4 base ciphers? Today's the 20th of the month, isn't it? It's the 20th of the month as well. But okay. So you have all those numbers, and April 7th, 4/7 is the day that Trump put in his first Supreme Court justice. Notice Trump is 47. You see that? And you see how Trump's also 88, like judge and gavel? It's just going in reverse. They both also have the 25. And Trump put in 3 Supreme Court justices in one term, which is pretty much has that ever happened before? I mean, that's a lot. But and then he not only that, but a lot of other federal level judges, he put a lot in there, more than most presidents. So he really had a huge impact with the judges Trump did. And again, it's because they're all part of the show, you guys. 1988's when Trump was on Oprah, talking about, she asked him if he'd want to be the president someday in 88. And he went to Fordham, the Jesuit University, the 88 University, as I call it. A lot of 88 rituals there. But if you write out Neil McGill Gorsuch, the name of his justice, he's got the 88 in his name too. And also the 187, like Washington, D.C., like Society of Jesus, like George Washington. But what's the other piece? Oh, yeah. April 7th is the 97th day of the year, and he became a Supreme Court judge in Supreme's 97. See how it's also Supreme's also 92, and his name's got the 92 in it, like he was born for it? 92 in numerology is 11, the master number. Again, it's numerology. Master numbers show great significance. How many Supreme Court justices? 9, 11, these numbers of power. Okay. So anyway, at 4:07, they got it up here. They got the celebration right there. They got Derek Chauvin, looking. He's got the face of a villain too, doesn't he? Right? He's not like a real handsome guy. His face isn't likable. He gets to be known for the guy with like the most horrible thing ever shown on U.S. television. And I can't say much on this. I've lost a lot of videos for talking about the George Floyd thing. You just can't say much these days. But right at 4:07, always talking about 47. In my background, that license plate in the background says, what is 47? Always educating about the same things here. We just talked about how the Baylor star died at age 47 unexpectedly with the same birthday as Elgin Baylor, who died during March Madness right before Baylor won the championship. Also standing out from, hold on real quick. Apologies, Truth Seeker. I got a runny nose for some reason. Not sick, but like allergies. Allergy time of year. But from the George Floyd reported I just realized something that I should have before too, man. That's messed up. Look at this, you guys. Look at this. Oh my God. You know how the video, he was reportedly killed on Memorial Day, May 25th, but the video came out May 26th. Look at that. It's exactly 47 weeks later. 47 weeks, right on the nose, right? The policeman is guilty exactly 47 weeks after the video came out. And I turned on the news is so hard to watch, you guys. I'm sure you know this already, but I was watching them cover this on CNN and on Fox News, and you get a much different contrast, but both just like targeting different audiences, both not helping solve the real problem, the way we're getting played for fools by these news networks, which obviously you couldn't expect from the news. But what both of them were talking about, though, that they were both in agreement on, was the use of, the people who use their phones to capture the moment, because had things not been on video, justice would have never been served. So ultimately, this also is now a story of like how cameras are great for justice and surveillance is great for justice. You know what I mean? As they're giving us all these reasons to live in a surveillance state. By the way, if you haven't read my book, that's exactly the argument I was making in there, is that they're encouraging us to submit to a surveillance state to keep us safe. They're showing us the reasons why we should, want to live under surveillance. So today, if you watch the news, thank God for all the cameras that captured this. Otherwise, there'd probably never be any justice. Okay. So it's exactly 47 weeks after the video came out, or 330 days from the supposed killing on Memorial Day, May 25th. Again, 330-33. Rodney King beaten on 3-3. The rioting started on East 33rd Street in Minneapolis, as we documented last year, the day of. But again, place, masonry, federal secrecy, order, race war, they're all 33. 33 bones in the human vertebrae, Kundalini, people in person 33. This number put in the media that's meant to move people, right? It's meant to move people for federal agendas. And who's in the land of the federal government? The Masons and the Jesuits. Okay. So again, the verdict on the 45 date, and the judge comes out at 4:05. He's got it in his hands. This is the way the TV coverage started. Oh, we're cutting over right at now. And if you were watching it, and again, when they show the replay, you'll see, he's got it out 4:05. He starts to read it 4:06. And then by 4:07, perfect timing with the caption. Okay, but today's also got the 65 date numerology. George Floyd 65. When you write out 3, it's 56. Next to the number put all over the Black Lives Matter ritual. Black Lives Matter 56. Society of Jesus 56. June 5th, 5/6 was the date they painted Black Lives Matter in the streets of Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C.'s 56 in the same cipher. The land of the Jesuits or the Society of Jesus. So the guilty on all 3 counts was also 1607 military time, a bit like 167, the 39th prime. George and Gemini 39, Securities 39. Remember, they moved the trial where it started on, it was supposed to start March 8th, but instead they moved it to March 9th, like 3-9. So that's that story. Another big 47 example. And just prior to that, the news was making it seem like it might go the other way about how places were, they were fortifying. And they did say Minneapolis was fortified before it. So the military police presence is there. Blaze TV, a year ago, they did not share my interview from the gathering at the Washington State Capitol, protesting essentially or standing against the state-mandated lockdowns. And I got to talk to Blaze TV, but they did not share the interview. But what did seem beyond coincidence was that right after that, they did a big thing on Event 201 and then tried to put a political twist on it, which defeated the whole thing because they're a political publication. But I think maybe my interview did inspire them to at least cover Event 201. But it would have been helpful because I think they have a pretty good following, Blaze TV. They got media that travels and they talk to us. But what I had to share about 201 and Event 201. It just wasn't interesting enough to them. But here's their headline now. Cops beg knife-wielding man in standoff. You're a black man. I'm a black man. You don't have to die today. I don't want you to die today. And then it says right below, police asked Matthew Williams to drop his knife at least 47 times. Again, what do I have in my background, you guys? Joey, if you're out there at Gonzaga, my man. Like I told you, just pay attention to how they abuse the number 47. A time number, and all of these things are rituals in time. But okay, what is 47 in the background? Again, number of authority connecting to policeman, cop, what we just talked about with Derek Chauvin. And the story was also put out April 19, 2021, the date with 44 numerology, shooting, Georgia, officer kill, all 44, just like Minneapolis is on the 44th parallel north, and Chauvin was 44 years old at the reported time of the killing. He's turned 45 just recently, in turn for the verdict ritual today. Don't forget the word rituals 45 itself. Just talk about the huge ritual with Matsuyama at the Masters, something that was quite lucrative from knowing Gematria. For the third year in a row, we helped a lot of people make a lot of money on the Masters. And again, this knowledge isn't supposed to be about gambling and making money, but again, that's the power of this knowledge. You can doubt what we're showing, but the people who aren't doubting it are benefiting in more ways than one. And also in the news, man arrested in connection with Wisconsin shooting that killed 3 people, wounded 3 others, authorities say. I actually posted about this on my Twitter page, and I said, how many times are they going to put 33 in front of our face before people realize we're not hunting for numbers and we just recognize the pattern? It was like an hour later, the news broke about Scottie Pippen's son dying at 33. I was like, come on, man. But again, you guys, this news on the date with the kill numerology, 64, 28, 44, out of Kenosha, 28, out of Wisconsin, 44, like shooting, right? And then kill equals 44 and 64. And then the Somers house is 64. So notice that, all in the most pure cipher. Like if you could only have one cipher, why I always say this one, because things like this. On the date with 64, 44, and 28 numerology, you get this headline about a shooting at a tavern. And here I've been, just following the headlines left and right. I mean, some might have slipped through the cracks, but I didn't hear about this story until they said they arrested a shooter. And it's just like how the other week CNN was trying to say there were mass shootings in Portland and Seattle, and nobody heard about any mass shootings in Portland and Seattle. So anyway, I mean, could it be any more by the numbers? And then he's also a black shooter too. This is a new twist, isn't it? The black shooters, all of a sudden, the black mass shooters. So normally they don't report black mass shooters in the news. They make it seem like there's a lot of black shootings in places like Chicago and, poorer urban environments, but they don't make them the mass shooters. This is the change right now. And like we talked about today, the one in New York, where the guy has the same name gematria as George Floyd on the day of the George Floyd news. Again, these people just like to play with everybody's heads, and they put out information that some people will latch onto while others will latch onto the other stories. Some people are feeling real empowered today because of the George Floyd win. Other people who've been watching the news for 40 straight years and are living with the same stereotypes and who've been trained by the media that black people are dangerous people. They're seeing these shootings with these young black shooters, and this is what they're focused on. Again, what we really need to do is, again, just turn all this stuff off. And that is ultimately my goal. That's the Pandora's box or the catch-22 that I'm with, because I hate the news media. And I've known what it is for a long time. I knew it after 9/11. I pretty much turned off my TV then for a decade. And but I just knew how I had people hooked. And it's just like, God, it's just like, now to just have to watch it and pay attention to it day after day when you hate the news media and you know what it is, just to expose it, and people still can't see it. It's just like, But anyway, the suspect's name, Gematria 118, right? Like Wisconsin, homicide, death, just numbers connected to death. Just makes you wonder. It's like, okay. Again, this person does not exist.com. Is this stuff even, is any of this even real? Is any of this real? People do get shot in this country. There are a lot of guns. There are a lot of homicides. Again, it's a society that was taught not to cooperate or love each other, but fight with each other, compete with each other, sometimes hate each other. Again, not the best values in the U.S., but we just know the stuff that's in the news. I mean, it's just so perfectly presented by the numbers day after day. Just how could it be? So also, again, shooting at a stop and go. This was today. Grocery store in New York. And notice Stop and Shop. I might have called it Stop and Go earlier. Stop and Shop. Stop and Shop 38. In that same cipher, the most pure cipher, Colorado's 38. It's the 38th state in order of statehood. It's the anniversary of the Columbine shooting in Colorado. And in the headlines, Colorado's new gun laws after the grocery store shooting at King Soopers, and here, again, a grocery store shooting on the anniversary of Columbine. In the Empire State, as laws are signed in Colorado that might soon become federal laws. And again, for gun owners, those are the kind of federal laws that they won't be happy about, but they're like, okay, well, at least you haven't declared war on my gun yet. You're not coming after me yet. You're just saying I need to be super safe at home or pay fines. Okay. Notice also, though, if you write out Stop and Shop grocery store, it's 107 like shooting. We were just talking about this, 107, the 28th prime, and the Colorado law was signed 28 days after the grocery store shooting. Hempstead has the Gematria 37 and 44 like shooting. Georgia's also got the 44 and 37, a lot of shooting stuff in Georgia. Hempstead, New York also has that 202 like Skull and Bones. The last victim recorded at 2:02 a.m. in the King Super shooting on 322. The big number was Skull and Bones, like the 202nd minute of the day is 3:22 in the morning. But it's probably not an accident. And yeah. Okay, so that's that story. All right, I need to keep going down. I keep forgetting that I need to go all the way. Keep going down. I have so many stories to cover. Okay. They're saying yesterday, April 19th, the World Health Organization out of Switzerland warned that the most cases in a single week ever had been recorded. And a lot of that's because of what's supposedly going on in Brazil right now. Now, remember, though, the Event 201 simulation... The Event 201 simulation was the coronavirus pandemic simulation of October 18th, 2019, 1 month before the outbreak in Wuhan, China. It began the same day the military World Games began in Wuhan, China. But Event 201, the outbreak starts in Brazil. It's the hardest hit country in the simulation. Right now, it's become the hardest hit country in the world, surpassing the U.S. And again, they're supposedly a big part of the reason that the most cases ever in a week. But this happened April 19th. And remember, that's the day in history that the Jesuits became a military order with Ignatius of Loyola. And Ignatius of Loyola equals 201, like the Jesuit order is 201. Pope Francis, the first ever Jesuit pope, his birth name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, 201, the first ever to live in Suite 201, and the rest of the list. But again, Event 201 was the day of the military World Games. On the day the Jesuits became a military order that operates worldwide, on the anniversary, the most cases of coronavirus worldwide, and they're saying this is the worst thing since Spanish flu, which came out of World War I. Anyway, if you've not read my book, it's all about the Jesuits, 201, what's going on in Switzerland, the land of the Knights Templar with the Jesuits having the Templar cross in their logo, how all these things are related. And they said 5.2 million cases in the last week, right? The Jesuits consider themselves a military worldwide order. 52 is a special number. If you write out Pope, it's 52, right? 52 weeks in the year, 52 cards in the deck. The calendar, the Gregorian calendar that we're on, is named after Pope Gregory. So 52 weeks in the year on the calendar made for a pope. Again, Earth is 52. Words like Kabbalah are 52. So is government. So is authority. Again, special number 52. If you write out the Cabal, it's 52. If you write out NWO for New World Order, it's 52, right? So 5.2 million new cases in this very clear Jesuit ritual. The Jesuits served the Pope. And when I look at this, they say that bringing the total to more than 142 million cases. Remember, that's a coronavirus number. Remember, the NBA season was suspended on the 142nd day of the season, and then it resumed 142 days later, plus many more rituals with that. But one of the coronavirus numbers, and let me see. Oh, yeah, just these stats here. Africa, normally the continent that's plagued with illness. Notice how low their numbers are. You know, this graph, Africa's yellow. They're the bottom line. Europe is blue. North America's green. Latin America and the Caribbean's light blue. And Asia, red. But yeah, Africa is just so minimal. That's something to look into, isn't it? And if that's the case, remember what I documented last year on June 24th, 2020, they began testing the COVID vaccine on black Africans. That was the 106th day of the pandemic. Blacks 106. Black Lives, whoops, hitting the wrong button. Black Lives Matter is 106. I Can't Breathe is 106. But yeah, until I saw this graph today, that had not jumped out at me. Meanwhile, over here in the U.S., they're telling black people need to go out and get the vaccine. You know, people of darker complexions need to go out and get the vaccine more. Okay, and then Walter Mondale's died. He's from the land of 93, Minneapolis, Minnesota. And he died April 19th, 2021. Date was 64, 28, and 44 numerology. Kills got the gematria of 64, 44, and 28. Mondale's got the gematria of 64 and 28, and he died 44 years after becoming vice president in 77. And Georgia's 44, and Jimmy Carter's from Georgia. Somebody pointed out something to me about Jimmy Carter that I missed and is not in my post yet. Jimmy Carter's full name, James Earl Carter. Oh, it's without the junior, though. Okay. Well, if you do his full name without the junior, James Earl Carter's 256. April 19th is the day leaving 256 days left in the year. So we just had the 59th election. I didn't even think about Monroe, Jimmy Carter's VP, but remember, on November 13th, the 44th day of Jimmy Carter's age, Georgia was called for Biden, the first time for a Democrat in 28 years, and it had 28 date numerology. It was the date with the 64, 44, 28 numerology, November 13th, 2020. Just like Mondale now died. But when that happened, I said, I'll be surprised if Jimmy Carter, after this ritual, if he lives that much longer. And you know what? Speaking of which, let's just see how many days it was from that. That was November 13th, 2020. Georgia was called for Biden. And Mondale died April 19th. 157 days later. See, that is interesting. That's the 37th prime. Well, first of all, with the most simple cipher, United States is 157, but it's the 37th prime, 157, and Georgia's 37. And what am I thinking? Is it Joe Biden? Joe Biden's also 37. Joe Biden's also 64 and 44, like the date numerology. But Georgia was called for Joe Biden. The first time Georgia went blue in 28 years. Jimmy Carter's state. And 28 years ago was when Lincoln was there. Or did I just say Lincoln? Clinton. And that means 93. 93 was the last time. Yeah, 93 was 28 years ago. Well, the election for who took office in 93. And then Mondale dies at 93 from the land of 93, Minneapolis. But yeah, you see how Mondale and Kill fit with the date numerology. Again, we always circle this 4464 date. There's always one day a month that's got the 4464 in it. Sometimes it'll have a 17, sometimes it'll have a 28, sometimes it'll have all four. But also, just from his birthday, January 5th, to his death, April 19th, is 105th day of his age. His full name in the most pure cipher, 105. Minneapolis on the 44th parallel, the 93rd meridian. That's his hometown. Dead on the 44 date at age 93. Derek Chauvin, 44 years old, officer 44, kill 44. You know, African American is 44 in September. You think about Obama, number 44. But look at this. From Jimmy Carter, from his birthday to the death of Mondale is 201st day of his age. And again, the Jesuit order is 201, Ignatius of Loyola 201. The list goes on. A lot of 201s with the Jesuits. But April 19th is the day in history that Timothy McVeigh blew up the Oklahoma City building. Military guy. And again, the Jesuits became a military order on this day. Timothy McVeigh 201. Jimmy Carter, you know, he had the ritual of looking weak. The 444 day, is that what it was? The 444 day Iranian hostage crisis. I got to go back over my notes on that. I haven't covered that since I first started this work. There's a lot to it, but I got to go back and look at it with a new lens, with what I know now. I probably haven't looked at the Iranian hostage crisis since, here. Let's see if the post is still up on my old blog. So, a lot of stuff's still there. Google is actively getting rid of posts, but Iranian hostage crisis. I remember they paid tribute to it in the news one day. But, you know, Georgian 44, we've been on that. But hold on. This was the tribute they did to it. Let's see. Is this the post I want? I guess this is the post. No, I'm going to have to go back and see. I know I have a good post on this somewhere. That post. Yeah, I got a better post. I'll find it some other time. I already got so much other stuff to go through. But, oh yeah, don't forget that this coming on the anniversary of Waco, or, well, the anniversary of Waco too, the final siege, but the anniversary of the Oklahoma City building bombing, which happened in 95, and the Jesuits were created to counter the 95 Theses, and that's why they were recognized by Rome on September 27th, the day leaving 95 days left in the year, and that's why the military World Games were created by Rome and the Jesuits and started in 95, and they began the same day as Event 201. But Timothy McVeigh supposedly blew up the Oklahoma City building bombing in response to Waco, which happened in 93, again coming back to Mondale in 93. That was the year Clinton became president. But Jimmy Carter got that gematria like Jesuit order. And he was the 42nd vice president. He ran for president in 84 with a female. What's her name? Geraldine Ferraro. Rambo did some good work on Ferraro and Kamala. Well, Mondale, who just died, was the 42nd vice president. 181's the 42nd prime number. And he died 181 days after her 56th birthday. Again, Washington, D.C.'s 56. Ronald Reagan's 56. He lost to Ronald Reagan, who died on 5/6, June 5th. So, again, just the same repetitive patterns. Minneapolis 93, the Jesuits in 201. I have to do some more research on Jimmy Carter. He was before I was even alive. 96 is the Freemason number. 97 is a number of death. There was the recent death of Mav Kennedy in a big 97 ritual. Yeah, we'll have to do some research and see how far Jimmy might make it. I think he's the oldest living president ever. Also, Scottie Pippen, again, his son died on the first day of Taurus. Aries transitioned into Taurus about midday April 19th. That's why Aries ends on April 19th and Taurus begins. But Scottie Pippen in the headlines for his son dying at 33. His oldest son dead at 33. Scottie Pippen wore number 33 in the NBA. But the news of Scottie Pippen, the Chicago Bull, he's known for playing for the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. On the first day of Taurus, the Bull, the news of his son's death at 33. And The Bulls had played 56 games this year. They were 23-33 going into this game, which they won and improved to 24-33 on the day of the news of the death of Scottie Pippen's son at 33. But notice his son actually died the day prior. They saved the news for April 19th, but he died Sunday, April 18th, and Son Sunday, Bulls, by Bull, they're all 33. Some people say the Bible is all astrotheology. Jordan, number 23, Pippen, 33, the Bulls, 23-33 coming into the game. And the news, 206 days after Scottie's birthday, connected to sacrifice in Jewish gematria. The death was actually on his 206th day of his age. They saved the news for the kill date. And a lot of good comments from people who were paying attention. And his son died on the day, leaving 257 days left in the year. Blood Sacrifice is 257. A year to the day of The Last Dance coming out with Pippen and Jordan on the cover, 33-23. The Last Dance, 68, like Chicago Bulls, like basketball, like Antron Pippen, like mathematics, like Catholic. And Neo the hacker caught how the news came out on the 62nd day of Jordan's age, because Jordan and Sacrifice are 62. Big focus on Minneapolis with George Floyd killed on the corner of Chicago and 38th. The streets. And again, for people who are just trying to debunk things and leaving quick comments, you wouldn't know how many people left the comment that this whole video is false because Taurus doesn't start, Aries ends today. It's just like, what? Okay, please do some more research and please stop making yourself look like an idiot. But yeah. Just a reminder, astrology is all about time. All these rituals are about time. The calendar, astrology, the language, it's all synced up, all clearly through the Catholic Church. Catholicism, 68. Mathematics, 68. A word I'm forgetting right now that connects it all is 68. Don't worry, I got it in the new book. It'll all be in there. Just, I think this is one of the words I'm looking for. Helios is 68. It's all related. It's all related what they've done. Okay, moving through the other stories. Oh, yeah. And don't forget, that J.P. Morgan quote, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Also in the headlines, Ohio lawmaker resigning. And then I thought it was funny because I noticed that because he's resigning, it's going to give the Republicans 211 seats in the House. They'll go down from 212 to 211. 211 is the 47th prime. Ohio equals 47. There's only two states that equal 47 in the most simple cipher, Nevada and Ohio. And that's the number connected to government and politics and the presidency. In 2016, Hillary and Trump had their first conventions in Nevada and Ohio, but 211 is the 47th prime. Ohio's 47, like Republican, like Democrat, like government, like authority, like president, like White House, like D.C. And I notice he's 56 years old right now. He's from Ripley, believe it or not, Ohio. So, pretty sure it's just all number games. It's all ritual. And we'll see what ends up coming out of his open seat. Be a story to follow. Chet Holmgren. Somebody called in when we were talking about the Gonzaga-Baylor game and said that this is the number one prospect and he's expected to go to Gonzaga. And this is where Jalen Suggs also went to school, coming out of Minneapolis. And I noticed that from Chet Holmgren's birthday to the day that he agreed he was going to Gonzaga. Remember, Gonzaga is a Jesuit school. April 19th, the day he declared there, is the day they became a military order. All roads lead to Rome. The Roman military knew they had to distract their people with entertainment. Think about sports. But notice, from his birthday to April 19th, 353 days, the 71st prime, again with the most simple cipher. Catholic is 71. Gonzaga is 71, right? and Gonzaga Bulldogs is 71. So from his birthday to declaring 353 days, the 71st prime. We've been teaching about Gonzaga in 71 for so long. We've even taught the students at Gonzaga on pieces of paper about their school in 71. And this comes right after a huge March Madness ritual, too, where, his Gonzaga lost. But March Madness is 71. Baylor Bears is 71. They made their first Final Four in 71 years, and they defeated Gonzaga. And they made their first championship in 73 years, which they did win. Baylor, 73 years later. 73 is the 21st prime. They beat the Jesuit school and broke up the perfect season, defending Indiana, where the championship was, and also where the game between Gonzaga and Baylor was supposed to be played that was canceled on December 5th because of COVID, supposedly. Oh, by the way, the day he declared it was a date with 64 numerology. Gonzaga Bulldogs is 64 forward, 71 in reverse. Isn't that perfect? This guy's a 7-footer who, for a big skinny white guy, handles the ball nice, moves swiftly, and they say he's the top prospect in high school basketball. But perfect ritual for Gonzaga. A 7-year-old girl was fatally shot in the drive-thru lane of a McDonald's in Chicago. Okay, so this news broke, or they say that she was shot. Okay, they say she was shot on April 18th, Sunday. And I just noticed her name, Jaslyn's 18. Here, again, write out her name. You see how it's 18 in the Most Pure cipher? It's also 81 forwards and backwards, like ritual is 81. But I've been talking about recently a lot in my live streams how McDonald's keeps flying their flags at half-staff for each nationally televised shooting, and reminding that McDonald's participated in the San Ysidro Massacre July 18th, 187 days after the death of Ray Kroc, on a date written 18/7. That big number with the Jesuits, Society of Jesus 187, it's the homicide code. And I forget, McDonald's used to be, I think that McDonald's just officially moved their headquarters to Chicago, but they used to be in Oak Brook, Illinois? Is that what it is? That is what it is. McDonald's old headquarters is right outside Chicago in Oak Brook, Illinois, which is 187 and 79. So is Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. And if you've seen the movie The Founder, which is about Ray Kroc, they joke in the movie, they make a joke about a Jewish man selling Catholic Bibles early in the movie The Founder. And again, it just reminds you of the Jesuits, because the Jesuits were created by Jews who converted to Catholicism. And one of the biggest tells, if you have eyes to see, is when you write out the word Catholic, it's 145 and 46. 46 books in the Catholic Old Testament, as opposed to 39 in the Protestant, so 46. And 145 more chapters in the Catholic Old Testament. The Old Testament's the Jewish section of the Bible. So the language, tributes, and gematria to Catholic pay tribute to, the Jewish section of the Bible. And this whole practice of gematria is Jewish mysticism. And by the way, Jewish mysticism is another 201 to go with the Jesuit order. The Jesuit order is actually 69 and 201 in the same two ciphers. And then there's that 93. I never realized Jewish mysticism was 204. Today's 20/4. Guess it was the right day for that discovery. See, that's how this knowledge is, too. Sometimes things are staring you right in the face. You don't really... And honestly, I don't ever really talk about 204. I don't know anything about that number. But, funny we noticed that today. But yeah, sometimes you'll notice things because you're like, wait a minute, I'm more aware of this now, so now that stands out to me. The numbers are the language. But that surname Adams she has, we've talked about that. It's a number that's been used in plenty of tragedy stories. It has fateful gematria. It has gematria like death. Adams has the 38, the 97 like death, the 34 like murder. Whoops. Death 38, 97, murder 34. Story of a little girl getting murdered in a McDonald's drive-thru. She's going from Happy Meal to dead. They put out, I also noticed this part right here when I was reading it, just because they put out the news the day after, the 109th day of the year, the 29th prime. So, and then Jaslyn Adams is 29 like black. Father's 29. Yeah. Okay. And shout out to Romero. This is Romero. This is my real buddy in real life. I don't see him that much because he still lives in Seattle. I don't think I've seen him since 2018, man. Time flies. I got to come visit you, Romero. But he left a comment. Sometimes he leaves a comment. He left a comment to the Scottie Pippen son death video. He said, "What about Bison Dell, former NBA player who played for the Bulls when they won the championship in '97?" And I'd never covered this before, so he was born 4'6" and died 7'7", and he won a championship with Chicago. Those numbers stand out to me right away with Chicago. Chicago equals 46 in Gematria, and it's divided into 77 neighborhood areas. Again, Chicago won their only Super Bowl with 46 points with the revolutionary 4-6 defense. But the day he died, July 7th, the 188th day of the year, leaving 177 remaining. Remember, Bavarian Illuminati is 188, the Jesuit Order is 177. The Bavarian Illuminati created by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt. Jesuits controlling the world of entertainment, news, putting their numbers, their stamp on things. This happened in French Polynesia. You know, the Jesuits created it in Paris, France. So that's a big part of it. Remember, the Jesuit Order is 177 forwards, 201 in reverse. Just like Captain Tom in the UK who died. He was knighted on 17/7, July 17th, and then he died 201 days later. Forwards and backwards, the Jesuit Order. Order of Illuminati is also 201, just like the Jesuit Order. And the year he won the finals, 97, that was June 13th, the day leaving 201 days left in the year. And he died 1,850 days later. Wait a minute. I might have screwed something up there. That can't be right. That's not right. Is it weeks? No. I must have typed something in wrong. But hold on, now I just got to see I did it wrong. My fault. Let's see. The finals were June 13th, 1997. Or maybe it is correct, actually. July 7th, 2002. Oh, no, never mind. That is correct. Yeah, he did. He died 1,850 days later. And that 185 is what's crucial in there. Basketball's got that 185. You see how it's also 85? Let me get his name spelling right. Yeah, Bison Dell. Notice how his name is 85. Big man. And I'm always asking, where do they get these genetics from? All these NBA players that are so tall. A lot of them don't know who their dad is, but they're just giants. Okay. So there's probably more to it. You know what else I should do? It's kind of a lazy decode. Let's see. 2002 NBA Finals. Was that Lakers? That was Lakers over Nets that year, and the finals ended what day? They ended June 11th. So he died 26 days later, Bison Dell. 26, and you know that's a number. Games 26, Bryant's 26, Jordan's 26. We're talking about how Bryant died on the 26th of January on the 37-year anniversary of Bear Bryant. Bryant's 26, 37. Remember, Kobe Bryant's 157. He died on his 157th day of his age, the 37th prime. Okay. Raul Castro. In both of my books, I talk about how the Castros are truly a Jesuit family and how Fidel Castro and his son died in very clear Jesuit rituals synced with the Pope. Well, now Raul Castro steps down 201 days after the day the Jesuits were recognized by Roman history. I mean, come on. There's no way that's a coincidence in the Jesuit family. No way at all. And Bitcoin went down a bit, recovered, and last time I checked here, let's see what the current value was. Last time I checked, it was hanging right around 56,000. Let's see what it's doing. But it went down to around 50,000. It's gone up a little bit because it was like low 56 when I saw it. But again, here's its thing. So you can see April 13th was its peak. April 15th, it wasn't far off the mark. But then right after that, Lincoln Titanic date in history, which are big Jesuit sick jokes, which have a lot to do with banks, it's gone down and now making the recovery. So it was up to 63. 63,588, 62,237. So, tributes to history, man. We've been showing how Bitcoin is clearly it. And Bitcoin's got that strong connection with the number 45, which is a ritual number. Remember, Nakamoto's 45. His birthday's 4/5. While he was 45, we predicted that Bitcoin would reach 45K by the 45th day of the year, Valentine's Day. It hit 48K. It surpassed that. But and then 45 days from his upcoming birthday, it became worth $1 trillion. That new valuation milestone at the time. But 45 is a ritual number, and you see how it tanked on the Titanic date and the Lincoln date. And again, the Civil War was connected to the central bank, and Lincoln, or not Lincoln, but the Titanic, when it sank, it had 3 of the world's richest men who were all, per the history books, opponents of the central bank, the Federal Reserve, which was established by the numbers not long after. And maybe they're trying to tell you something about the history of central banks in this date and what Bitcoin's doing. Who's really behind these electronic currencies when the governments surely want people to be eager about switching into electronic currency? And then this whole Coinbase thing that just went down was a massive, skull and bones ritual, which is connected to the Knights Templar, who are the original bankers. So again, you want to keep believing in all these cryptocurrencies? I mean, you go right ahead. If you're trying to earn money on it the same way to pay the bills, you do what you got to do. But again, the thing to me about investing in the electronic currency is we really are buying into our own shackles. We're already in them, man. But I mean, these ones are going to be even tighter fitting, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We really just need to get away from money altogether. And yeah, there's even more I could say about this, but caller from New York pointed out how Nas survives, DMX dies. These men were closely tied together in the 90s, did the movie Belly together, but Nas has never been richer as DMX is dead. And Nas is, getting behind the whole Coinbase thing, this whole Skull and Bones thing. DMX, one of the last songs he did with Rick Ross, where Rick Ross opens the song rapping about Skull and Bones. Again, the Coinbase thing, it was valued, it made like $322 million in profit the year before, and then from the day it was established to the day it went on Wall Street was 3220 days later, which was 14/4, April 14th, the day Lincoln was shot, the day the Titanic started to sink, 14/4, like 144, like Jesuit order, and time 144, time rituals, 1,440 minutes in a day. But the thing that jumped out to me is, in light of Nas, being part of this, saying Nas made so much money by being an investor in Coinbase, his birthday is 14/9, like 149, like Skull and Bones is 149. And remember, Bill Gates' father died on that day. Was Nas's 40? Keep in mind, Nas is 47 right now. But Bill Gates' father died on 14/9, and he died exactly 322 days after Bill Gates' birthday. 322, the number of Skull and Bones. So there's a lot more to it than that. Dying on the 258th day of the year in the time of the pandemic and the vaccines, when he established his vaccine alliance on the 258th day of his age, and his dad wanted to knock off some population. Bill Gates talked about it at his TED Talk. But yeah, it's just like, no wonder. Nas has that Bavarian Illuminati gematria too, which was created by the Jesuits. Again, Jesuits, Skull and Bones. It's all related. Bavaria, the Bavarian Illuminati Bavaria has the same gematria as Jesuit order. And again, Adam Weishaupt, the Jesuit who created the Bavarian Illuminati, died on November 18th, the 322nd day of the year, and he died 201 days after the establishment anniversary of the Bavarian Illuminati, May 1st, 1776. He renamed it Order of Illuminati, which is 201. And also the caller from New York, since he tipped us off on the Coinbase article, he also tipped us off on these hidden lyrics, or these lyrics that were removed from one of his songs. And when you read them, you see why. It was just too revealing of the darkness these entertainers go through behind the scenes. And then it sounds ritualistic too, like somebody, making him do things that he'd rather not do. Okay. Mexican president is proposing a migration agreement during the U.S. climate summit. I believe that's this Thursday. And again, as we move towards this new world order, as George Herbert Walker Bush said it, which we're clearly already in, but as it continues to progress, I'm sure we'll see more things like, continental alliances, Canada, U.S., Mexico further than we already have. And I mean, it's not like those things have to be bad, but what you realize is it's evil that's behind this. And when their power and strength grows, then it is bad. That's why, just by default, you should be opposed to what the tyrants who run our news and government are doing. Everything they're doing is about building their power, control, and influence over us. End of discussion. And the reason it's the end of the discussion is because you can dig all day. You're not going to find anything that points to anything otherwise. Just pay attention to what's going on in the world. And again, this is what people like myself have been warning about for 20 years. So, I mean, that's why anybody who just like woke up or thinks they have some counterpoint, try to prove your point. Try to disprove what I'm saying. The things I've been worried about and explaining why the writing's on the wall and they're coming, they're happening. So I don't know where anyone could make an argument otherwise. All right, how about this story right here? 18-year-old from Ohio arrested with AK-47 in Times Square subway. Okay, so Ohio's 47, like AK-47, Sadiq Teague 47. Remember where we started, the big 47 ritual today with Derek Chauvin, exactly 47 weeks after the video came out of the supposed killing. But this 18-year-old Sadiq Teague from Ohio had an AK-47, right? You see how this comes together? And again, the original ciphers that I learned in Manly P. Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. The alphabetic order with the rules of numerology. And this happened in Columbus. They say he was arrested on April 16th, which is the 106th day of the year, and the article says he was from near Columbus, a suburb of Columbus, but Columbus 106. Columbus also have the 47 in the base ciphers when you run it in reverse to go with his AK-47 on the 106th day of the year. And the story was put out the day after a date with 42 numerology, and it's a young black man, right, with the AK-47 from Ohio and New York. They say, man, this could have been a lot worse. He could have opened fire in the subway. And again, just to make a point, the other night I was on YouTube, and for some reason it recommended a man who sings in the New York subway. I want to say his name is Mark Young. I might have it wrong, though. I know the last name is Young, and the way he was spelling on there was Y-U-N-G. But he said he'd been singing in the subway for 30 years, but he sings really well. Very talented black man. It's like, and I guess actually he did finally recently make it to one of these, America's Got Talent type of shows, but he didn't win. Like, who's better than this guy? But anyway, the man can really sing. But the point is, he's been singing in the subway for 30 years, making this beautiful music. He's got his band there with him, a guy who can really play the guitar. A guy that's got a snare drum and his cymbal, and he makes it nice with that. And there's a little 3-man band in the subway making nice music for people, making a living off tips. And why don't I get that story just on my CNN on the day of the news? The way they sung this song today. I mean, they could just present a bunch of positive stuff and make it seem like America's a really great place every day. They could if they wanted to. Inspire people to be creative, use their passions, make a living doing what they love doing. And realize that's why the system takes that out of kids and says, "Oh no, you need to be something more practical. Yeah, you might like to sing and paint, but it's hard to make a living with that." Again, if we lived in a world where money didn't exist and people just bartered and traded their skills and what they're good at, and maybe there's someone in the town that just sings so nice and just people love to hear her sing. Why don't you come over tonight? We'll just say her name's Monica. Monica can really sing. Why don't you come over tonight, Monica, and just, sing that song for us? We'll make you dinner. That's how Monica's life is. People just always inviting her over. She has good social company. She never had to have a job in her life. God's gift was for her to, be in the village, share her face, or smile, and sing her beautiful song with people. I mean, another guy might be really good at, crafting things, building things. People have talents, and then if people aren't the most talented, they find out where they can be good help to people who have the talent. Everybody gets in where they fit in. That's the way the world will be. But instead, they make it this system. And, anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I'm just saying, that could be this story instead of the what looks like the horribly contrived story by the same exact numbers, just to spread stereotypes and fear. And oh my God, that could have been another mass shooting. Oh my God. Okay, so what else is in the news? A shooting in Columbus at an Ohio vigil. So at the same time that was going on, there was another shooting. They said this one happened Saturday, April 17th, the 107th day of the year. And Ohio vigil has the gematria 106 and 61. Columbus is 106, Ohio 61. So an Ohio vigil in Columbus gets shot up. So the numbers go together. The shooting on the 107th day of the year, we're shooting in Saturday or 107 on a Saturday. And again, the story even factors in a Dollar General. LaToya Carpenter, 39, was driving past the Dollar General when the shooting started. Wasn't there something with a Dollar General and the Dante Wright shooting too? Again, all this stuff's so ritualistic, but Dollar General, they got to get in the story, like some advertising, subliminal advertising. All press is good press, but it's got that 61 connection. And yeah, let's see. They said the shooting happened around 7:30 p.m., sacrifice 73, or 19:30 military time, where 193 is the 44th prime. But yeah, I mean, just you got a guy from Columbus in New York and then a mass shooting in Columbus at the same time. It's like, okay, what's really going on here? And then, just during the trial, just the tensions rising. Police fatally shoot carjacking suspect near Minneapolis. This happened in the town of Burnsville, which has gematria 44, like shooting like officer, reminding of Minneapolis on the 44th parallel with 44-year-old Derek Chauvin, how old he was at the time of the George Floyd killing. Carjacking's also 193, the 44th prime. And again, it's just so obvious, the media's trying to work people up, get their anxieties up, get them more invested in the stories. You got the death of Mark and Donnie Wahlberg's mother at 78 on a Sunday. Remember, Jesuit and Sunday have the same gematria in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. Jesuit and Sunday are 84, 21, 78. Last year, August 30th, 2020, a Sunday, a date with 78 numerology. John Thompson died at age 78. Unexpectedly, he won the college championship with Jesuit Georgetown in 84. First black coach to do it. So anyway, now we have another Sunday death. Good Catholic Mark Wahlberg. Mother dead at 78 on Sunday. And again, just to go over this. Alma Wahlberg, the mother's name, is 49. Mark Wahlberg is 49 right now. And the older brother, Donnie Wahlberg, her death comes 121 days before his upcoming birthday. Blood Sacrifice is 121. And it would make sense that it would be synced up with his birthday, even though he's not the bigger movie star. He's the older brother. Older brother always got more clout. The death did come 244 days after his birthday, while the country's 244 years old. We talked about what that number has to do with the Illuminati, which has to do with the Jesuits the other day with the story of Bernie Madoff, if you missed that. But I'll pay attention more to what Mark Wahlberg's working on. There's probably a lot more to this, some announcement in his career, some film he's got coming up. There wasn't a 78th Movie Awards this year, was there? What movie awards have happened? 78th Academy Awards were 2006, so that wasn't it. What's the other one? Grammys is music. I forget what the other awards ceremony's called. Yeah, I'll pay attention though. I'm not sure what's going on in Mark Wahlberg's career right now. Okay, and then also pointed out by Ray the Rebel, thank you. He pointed out that DMX died 38 days after his manager's 59th birthday, Steve Rifkind. And his birthday is March 2nd. DMX dead 4/9/38. Of course, the number that connects to death, murder, killing, RIP. The number encoded in the movie poster for Murder by Numbers. And you just got to say, what are the odds? Rapper, of course, is also 38. So, have to ask Steve Rifkind if he knows anything about Kabbalah. All right, what else? Oh, yeah, we had a shooting in Austin, Texas. Sunday, April 18th. But again, a shooting in Austin on a Sunday. And just notice how Austin, Jesuit, and Sunday overlap in 3 out of the 4 ciphers, and Austin and Jesuit overlap in all 4 ciphers. When you write out 3, it has gematria, just like Society of Jesus, like murder. And Jesuit Order in Austin, Texas also have overlap in 3 out of 4 values, 144, 153, and 72. And the guy who was accused, his name is 118, like homicide, like death. And we just talked about the other shooting blamed on a black man in Wisconsin, whose name equaled 118, like homicide, like death, also like Wisconsin. So, what are the odds? What are the odds? By the way, Austin's got the 42 like Jesuit. And again, blaming it on a black man. We know how they like to code the 42s in the national headlines that, push the racial stereotypes. The police spokesperson's name, Joseph Chacon, I'm not sure how you say it, but it's got that 54 in it, like Jesuit Order. Also JC, right? Because this was on a Sunday. JC, like Jesus Christ, like John Carroll, who founded the first Jesuit university while he was 54 years old, Georgetown. And we talked about this one, the North Texas basketball coach. So, again, just if you missed my coverage on this, Nelson Haggerty, he played for Baylor, who just won the college championship, and his birthday is September 16th, the same day as Elgin Baylor. And that means that both of their birthdays were 201 days before the championship, that big Jesuit number that also connects with Indianapolis. His name had that gematria, 71 in it, that big March Madness number. And he also coached at North Texas, who snuck into the tournament this year, upset Purdue, and then lost to Villanova. Talked about the author of Brokeback Mountain, went to North Texas. He died at age 84, right after North Texas lost in the tournament. And again, North Texas is the Mean Green. Baylor University's 82. Mean Green's 82. The 2 universities the player was connected to after Baylor wins the 82nd tournament that the Mean Green snuck into and got a big upset in. So, all ritual. But yeah, I think those were the majority of the headlines. And I will remind people, freetofindtruth.com, if you guys are not signed up, the community is becoming very, very active. And a lot of people on here doing some really great work. And if there's certain people you see posting on here who you like, you can follow them, and you can always search their names and look up their latest posts. Like, check out this guy right here. I mean, there's a lot of people that deserve this respect, but Neo the Hacker, let me see if that pulls it up. Neo the Hacker, this is him right here. If you click on him and go to his timeline, I should be following him. There, now I'm following him. Let me see something. Okay. And see, unlike YouTube, when you follow and refresh, it shows. So I'm his 82nd follower. That's funny because Zachary's 82. But anyway, this guy, Neo the Hacker, he's just always got great posts here. If you come check out his work, whenever he decodes something, he always catches a lot. And he's just going to get better with time. Yeah, 256 does have a square root of 16. That is a quality of that number I was overlooking. Perfect. Yeah, so yeah, and again, just people like him. Just here's his Mark Wahlberg decode. Let's see what he's got. News comes on the 27th. 27 date numerology. Alma Ritual 27. She was born May 6th. I think I forgot to look up her birthday. She was born on 5/6, a date with 42 numerology. Also 43 date numerology. News comes on the day, leaving 257 days left in the year. The blood sacrifice number. 49 weeks after her birthday. Remember, Alma Wahlberg was 49 and Mark Wahlberg's 49 right now. So I missed, because I didn't measure from her birthday, I missed a huge thing right there. That would have been the obvious thing. 49 weeks after her birthday and the most pure cipher, her name 49. Words like Lord equal 49. I just wonder in these sick rituals if they're like, now you can be with the Lord. Fitting day for you, Alma. 2 weeks and 5 days before her upcoming birthday. So he gets into the nitty gritty here. Yeah, so he's very thorough. So you'll learn if you just follow his posts. See, he goes even more. See, I might know some of these things, but I might not document them because But again, I think it's good to be thorough. But again, a lot of things he catches, just very thorough documentation. And a lot of times I'll see his decode. I'm like, nice work, man. I didn't even catch that. Great work. So. The reality show, The Wahlburgers, ended its run on July 31st, 19, and she died 20 months after it ended. Death is 20. See, now that right there, you see how it ended on 31/7, like 317? I think I see something he missed, because I think I have it in mind. Hold on. I think she died 317 days. I get it. I get it now. I'll show you right here. Hold on. Let me just make sure that's right, that she died 317 days after Mark Wahlberg's birthday. Okay, so she died 317 days after his birthday. That's the 66th prime number. And notice family's 66 with the most simple cipher, right? So there's this show about their family, you see? And then she dies in this perfect ritual. And then it's synced with her younger son. Well, it's synced with both, but it's synced, the 49 synced with her younger son, who's the bigger star. And I haven't seen the show, but I imagine both brothers are in it. But yeah, that's it right there. She died 86 months after its release. How sick is that? Blood sacrifice, 86. And it came out on 122, so we know what kind of family is going on over there. That Satanic's 122. It's also got the 67, like blood sacrifice is 67 and 86. So is human sacrifice. And then she died 121 days before the older brother's birthday. But what I was going to say though is, by being a member of this community, you can access, the good posters pages, and that another way, just other people to keep up with in the community who are doing good work. So the only thing, but see, that's also like, it's good when two people look at it, because he caught the thing with the show, which I didn't even know existed. And that's why I always say, man, if I knew what was more going on with Mark Wahlberg and what his projects are and what's up, I'm sure I'd see a lot more to this. And there it is. He knew. Man, I got to get that. I got to add this whole thing to my post. And this is what's nice about Neo the hacker. I can just plug it right into my post. And he saved me all this trouble. So again, it's nice to get something back, because I do pay $1,000 a month for that website to be maintained and updated, and the data storage, and I'm sure that there's a better price out there, but again, the company that's doing it is local. And the last time I had a project, I had these people do it in Florida, and that's about as far away from me as I can be since I'm in Washington State. And I learned the value of having somebody close to me if there's a problem. All right, so I am just going to add this to the post because, again, I mean, it just shows, man, it's so perfect. It's so perfect how they do stuff. I got to get that in there. Show Wahlburgers ended on July 31st, 2019, or 31/7, like 317. Okay. But yeah, that's why the more you research something, the more you see how perfect these rituals are. And that's why it's so frustrating that so many people will not take the time to learn this. Because when you learn it, and again, I mean, again, I've taught what I've learned. People are replicating it and doing the same thing, finding the exact same patterns. So couldn't just accuse me of seeing it. But okay, the point is free to find truth. This website, there's always people posting here. There's a lot of good posters. It's not just Neo. Mark says, have I seen this? Yeah, I've definitely seen the Rationale Wiki page. They spend a lot of time on it. And it's a complete joke. It's like written by the trolls. Again, in the time that page has existed, they've turned a blind eye to about 1,000 correct predictions, at least. Big ones that should be on there. They should be writing a bit, what's it called? A Rationale Wiki about what a joke their whole page is. But yeah, my write-up is longer than almost everyone in the conspiracy community. I think the only person who has more written up about them than me is Alex Jones. And Alex Jones is a shill. Okay. Okay, so yeah, anyway, a lot of people are sharing a lot of stuff on here. And, you know, some people's posts you'll be more into than others, but lots of information being shared, lots of good decoders on here. There's even a page on here for people looking for anyone that's looking to date. You know, truth seekers trying to link up on here. I don't know if we have our first free to find truth couple yet, but it will happen in time, and that would be a great story. So. But yeah, a lot of people on here sharing information. And again, when you find the people who are very good at what they do, just be sure to follow them. And somebody got this post on here. I don't even know who KCP is because I do not follow things. But KCP wore this shirt the night before Kobe died. Okay, I'm going to have to look more into that. But yeah, just all sorts of things being shared on here all the time. So Ben's got to definitely follow Ben. Definitely follow Ben. All right. I'm going to be Ben's. Ben's got great posts. And some of these other people I should definitely be following too. But Ben says, so you approach the 1-year anniversary of George Floyd's death, the rising of the Black Lives Matter movement, and the creation of Athletes for Change and Equality. We want to host a department-wide meeting for the year in review. This meeting will be held on April 25th at 7:30 p.m. and will be open to all student athletes. I'm guessing this is for his school. Yeah, he's in university right now. Okay, so for their school, they're revisiting all the big news events of the year. Yeah, that's how it is. But when you realize like you're being lied to and everybody else is being driven by the same narratives, it's like, or the rest of society is being driven by the narratives that they want people to be driven by. I know you kind of feel like you're living in a different world. But yeah, free to find truth, place to organize, link up, share information. You can use it as your own truth blog. You know, just post there. Your posts get archived. They get saved. That's why if you go through Neo the Hacker, you just scroll through his page. He has just tons of good posts. Everything he posts there is just in chronological order. And yeah, so do that. And whoops. Wrong thing. Just for one more public service announcement. Again, all the channels getting censored where I post now is Gematria Effect Sports, Zachary on the Corner, which is currently suspended, Voices of Humanity, which is currently suspended, and Signs Matter. And, of course, this channel that we're on right now, GematriaEffectNews 22. So if you're not subscribed to all of those channels, you could be missing some of my content. And hey, even if you are subscribed to all of them, they're probably not giving you the updates or the announcements or the pings when I go live anyway. So not all is lost, but those are the places I'm posting if you're looking. And with that said, I am going to make Sweet Lady some dinner. And let me just see what the latest news is as I sign off here. Okay, we got the Chauvin guilty. The U.S. is vaccinating millions daily, it says. Here's why COVID cases and hospitalizations are up. Man, it's a lot for them to keep together. These blood clot experts want you to get a COVID-19 vaccine. Here's why. Again, they said that Johnson & Johnson was giving blood clots, so they stopped it. And that was the one vaccine that only you had to take one time, and it didn't modify you. The other vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna, modify you. The breakaway league in Europe for football suffers a setback today. Might be something to look into. But yeah, again, the big 47 ritual with today's decision. 47, the number of the courtroom, as we've talked about so many times. Amazing how they do it. So anyway, we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Dinner time over here. And